Look at the state of this. Dusty. Oh, there's my chair. Matt has let this place go to shit. Alright. Okay, let's do this. That should work.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. Are you prepared? I hope so.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Help for the Guiltless. My name, of course, is Antoine, and I honestly didn't think I was going to be here again. Believe it or not, I've been enjoying just being an anchor on MSNBC. It's less stressful, and I get to talk about stupid things like Florida Man, and I get to be on it with two very beautiful women. Kind of a hard gig to pass up. But here I am, because I did promise that I would show up once again if something interesting happened, and my bright red eyes have peered through the darkness and have come across something that definitely needs to be talked about. To the point where I'm surprised no one else is talking about it. Don't get me wrong, I understand 2020 is nothing more than a garbage fire, more akin to a garbage fire that's in the hot Atlanta summer that's filled with tires and toxic waste, and instead of emptying it, they just keep adding needles and murder hornets and other things that are just going to kill the rest of you people. I honestly think humanity is trying to kill itself. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. Just, I'll make sure to save a few of you to keep the internet running so I can survive. Listen, I'm not saying this is something that's devastating, but I am saying it's important. It's so important that I don't understand why more people aren't talking about it. Especially certain YouTubers that I would think have a vested interest in this. It's about gamers, and it has to do with identity politics and PC culture. I could name a handful of people that would love to talk about something like this. But instead they're busy talking about Susie Lou and, oh god, she's watching anime. Listen, a while ago, years ago, we had something called Gamergate. And what I'm going to be talking about, I'm not saying is Gamergate 2.0, since according to Brianna Wu, Zoe Quinn, and Anita Sarkeesian, it never stopped. Regardless of the fact that it died 2 years after it was created, I guess. I'm not saying this is a part 2, but I am saying that this is something that should probably be talked about. And I'm surprised. Now, I understand it's because it's coming from Germany. So, if the translations are a bit off, don't blame me, blame Google. But it's being backed by a major gaming publication company. It's being backed by EA. As if EA needs something more to say, hey, we hate our customer base. Anyway, I'm not going to gild the lily, I'm not going to stretch this intro out because there's a lot to talk about, to the point where there's possibly going to be a part 2. So I'm just going to jump right into this. This was given to me by someone on Twitter, and I'm eternally grateful for them. It's called Not a Pixel to Fascists. Oh yes, this is where we're headed. Now, I have more than a few articles to talk about this, but just by that title alone, you know exactly where we're headed. The tagline reads, Right Mindset and Gaming YouTube. Michelle Janbain is a blogger and Germanist and does research on digital fan cultures and online communities, among other things. In addition, on her blog Buchenwald and on Language at Play, she deals critically with literature and video games and tweets at her Twitter handle about culture and feminism. For the launch of No Pixels for Fascists, we talked to her about the medium of YouTube and the fan communities of gaming stars like Gronk. I don't know who Gronk is. Never heard of Gronk. I've heard of Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie. Everyone's heard of PewDiePie. I don't know who Gronk is. So this is done as an interview. So we'll go over the questions. If I have anything to say about them, I'll add my 2 cents. I mean, you know I will. But I won't really be doing much in the way of adding my 2 cents until we get to some of the harder questions. They don't throw out the hard questions or the hitting questions the first couple. So question 1 is very simple. You're a literary scholar, but you deal a lot with online communities, such as fans of individual YouTubers. How did you come up with this topic? Now, Michelle, basically, is answering in her own words, and like I said, if the translation is off, it's because of Google Translate, which went from German to English. So if you see it on screen and I change something, like from a them to they or something like that, that's because of the translation. I'm just letting you know. I'm not adding anything to it. YouTube grew up in my youth. I grew up within these communities. The older I got, and the more I learned, the more I noticed problems in the scene. The scene she's talking about is the gamer scene. Apparently it's a thing. I don't know. I didn't know that it was a gaming scene. I just thought it was a bunch of people who like to play video games. Especially with the big YouTubers, who actually stylized themselves as left. That's fine. Most people can stylize themselves as whatever they want. It's as far as I remember, a gay black furry won Gamer of the Year last year. So, I mean, they can label themselves whatever. From my perspective, the separation between literature, culture, and YouTube is not as hard as it can appear from the outside. Especially in the fan area, there's a lot of art and literature that has great influence on youth culture. She's talking about memes and pop culture. On these points, you can compare fan culture with traditional influences on literature, and that's where I make use of my experience in the field. So she's comparing gaming culture in things like movies and comics. So she's comparing different fan bases. And apparently, if you saw from the title of this, she comes to the conclusion that gamers are indeed fascist. They hold all the power, and they use their power violently to silence those who don't agree with them, like the Gamer of the Year that I mentioned before. Question number 2. What role do well-known gaming greats like Gronk, whom you've already criticized in detail, play in the normalization of right-wing language and thoughts in gaming communities? Again, I don't know who Gronk is. I've never heard of him, but apparently she doesn't like him. Michelle then continues, online culture plays a big role in the way of youth and adults are socialized. Yes, because online gaming is actually very huge. It's not that hard to do. You get things like that going and yeah, people are going to make friends online, have gaming groups, things like that. In the gaming sector, as in other communities, the familiar faces are role models. Their speaking habits and personalities influence viewers and normalize any problematic content. Especially people like Eric Range, Gronk, hide behind statements like, "I'm just a guy from the internet," and don't want to admit their influence in order to withdraw from responsibility, as hard as it may sound. Jokes against minorities, tweets that criticize critics and company reach a potential audience of millions to support the right ideas. YouTubers don't have to be from the right. It is enough to use right-wing rhetoric, jokes about feminism, casual racism, etc., or to allow members of your own community to do so. This I didn't expect to get into right away, but question 2, it's very simple what she's saying. You are responsible for what other people do. If you have a large following, you are responsible for your fans. That means any one of you listening who happen to be a fan of me or a fan of this channel, I am supposed to take responsibility for you if you say something wrong. And I know a few of you who are shitposters, not unlike myself, who understand that I can't be held accountable for what you do. Just like Markiplier or Gronk can't be held accountable for what their fans do. They're saying because you make these jokes, you're the role model, it's okay for then your fans seeing it and then mimic it. That's not your responsibility. That's not my responsibility. That's not Gronk's responsibility. Him saying, "I'm just a guy from the internet," is a true statement. He's just a guy people like watching. They like his opinions. They like his content. They like his jokes. The problem you have with jokes about feminism, aside from the fact that you're a feminist yourself, and have no actual sense of humor, you see it as an attack instead of what it actually is. Casual racism. You know what? There was an article about how they tried to go through Twitter with a bot to find hate speech, and instead the bot found that people of color are more racist than any other people on Twitter. Now, when they say people of color, in this instance, they're talking about blacks. And they found that black people are more racist and sexist on Twitter than anyone else. Do you want to know, instead of that conclusion, what they said? They said that it was a implicit bias by the designers of the bot. That's right, it's never their fault. It's always someone else's fault. She continues with saying, statements and jokes with alt-right rhetoric do not make you a Nazi, but they support the normalization of these things, which are pushed more and more into our society, especially from the right, especially in gaming circles. They help right-wing organizations and groups to be classified as normal and harmless. At the same time, more and more spectators slide into the alt-right corner and are not reminded by their idols that these views are not normal. There's a problem there. You cannot hold other people accountable for what they say. I am not at fault for what my neighbors say. I am not a monolith. Neither is PewDiePie, neither is Gronk, neither is Markiplier, neither is Jacksepticeye, neither are the Game Grumps, neither are Lawrence Eastside or Dang That's a Long Name. None of them are a monolith. They do not control what their fans do. They can say, hey, don't go talk about this person, don't go harass this person, which multiple YouTubers have done. But if you, as that person on the outside, decide to go do it, that's on you, not on the person that you follow. This is where that whole idea of fascism comes in. They see these people who have millions of followers, millions of subscribers, millions of quote-unquote impressionable youth, and see it as their responsibility to mentor, guide, and cajole their way into these people's minds. Question number 3. What would have to change to contain the problems they create? Well, unfortunately, there's no problems. You want to treat the group as a whole instead of dealing with the individuals. It's not PewDiePie's fault that he has people who have differing opinions that follow him. Michelle says, ideally, one would have to fight systematic anti-feminism, racism, and heterosexism, and remove them from our society. There you go. We don't need these people in our society. They have the wrong ideas. They should be removed. Their ideas are wrong, my ideas are right. Thus, they shouldn't have anything to do with this society. This next part is telling. However, this is a goal rather than a direct measure. What that means is they really do want you gone. They don't want you in their spaces. They have come into your spaces, being welcomed with open arms into the gaming culture, and they now want you to go away. And if you think I'm wrong, about 2 weeks ago we had an entire weekend filled with D&D and how orcs are supposed to be racist. Those who can change that are the YouTubers themselves, but also their audience. In the English-speaking area, there are already many YouTubers who speak openly and directly against right-wing rhetoric and ideas and sensitize their communities. Sensitize. See, that's the problem. You shouldn't be sensitizing your communities. You should be desensitizing them to these ideas. If they are so horrible, desensitization of these ideas will make them immune from them when they see them. Otherwise, what do? They run and hide behind their mother's skirt. This already exists here, but on a much smaller scale. The big known gaming outfitters, unfortunately almost only cis men, don't. Some of them take up quote-unquote left positions from time to time. What they mean by left positions is far left, extreme progressive, idealistic, identity political ideas. The woke left. But a Nazis get out tweet is not the same as dealing directly with problematic language patterns and behaviors that are influenced or supported by right-wing ideas. This is again, you are not thinking the right things, so you need to change, or you need to get out. Question 4. Suppose I have a person around me who picks up sexist sayings or ideas from a streamer.
What do you think I should do to counteract this? Do you have any tips on where I could find out more? Michelle says, I think parents in particular should deal with the content that their children consume online and intervene if necessary. Having an open conversation about why their children's idols say and do problematic things can do a lot. That's if the parents think that what their children are watching are problematic. I don't know if anyone remembers, but a few seasons ago, they were saying that Thomas the Tank Engine was fascist, that Paw Patrol was sexist. Two milquetoast children's cartoons are the ones that are fascist, and they want parents to curb their children's idol. What they want is to tell their parents of these children, this is what is okay for your children to watch. If you let them watch anything else, they will become fascist when they grow up, and you will be raising an alt-right Nazi. Michelle continues, generally speaking, a conversation at the beginning helps a lot, I think. Socialization influences us to a very large extent, and if you have never thought about what the people in the videos actually mean, you do not question it. I do think that parents should take an interest in what their children are doing up to a certain age. Now, parents are responsible for their children up until they move out, or in some cases 18, since some children never move out. But they can't be held responsible if their children don't tell them about things. See, the children she's talking about, and when they say children, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so you think gaming is nothing but a child's toy. That kind of thinking ended a long-ass time ago. Even Nintendo, who held that torch the longest out of the gaming companies about how Nintendo systems were children's toys, has dropped it by the wayside because they know that the people who grew up with Super Mario Brothers are now well into their 40s. They have grown up. Gamers have grown up, which is why a lot of the very popular games are geared towards adults, because it's no longer a platform specifically built for children. But continuing to call gamers children is to put into your head that it's just 12-year-olds playing, and that's it. Those parents should dictate what those 12-year-olds are playing. Unfortunately, fan communities often have kind of a tunnel vision when it comes to their idols/role models. It helps, I think, to sensitize slowly and not judge. Desensitize. Desensitization is the only way that you're going to fix this. For example, many fans of Gronk have been watching him for years and associate good memories with it. This is perfectly fine as a guilty pleasure. I want you to know this is all her opinion. It is about showing that you like people and can criticize them at the same time. At the end of the day, you don't criticize Range per se, but rather the online personality of Gronk, which I don't want to say that you can separate art from an artist. Again, this is where we are. They want the artist, the YouTuber, to be held responsible for the art, because they can't separate it. Now, Markiplier has come out and said that he portrays himself a little bit more exaggerated, and everyone who does YouTube puts on kind of an online persona. I don't have to. I was born of the internet, so this is what you get. But they can't separate the art, the persona, and the person. They don't want to, because if it comes out that that person is actually a decent human being and is just saying these things because they can, well, then it ruins an entire narrative that they have on this, that gamers are vile because their idols are vile. She's focusing on this Gronk person because she doesn't like him. So what? I don't know if you folks knew this. It's okay to not like people. Do you want to know how you don't have to deal with someone like Gronk? Don't watch him. It's that simple. Don't watch him. You never have to deal with him. You never have to see what he says. You never have to see what he does. You don't have to worry about how many times he's died in Mario Maker 2. You never have to deal with him again. Except because it's YouTube. It's personalities. YouTube has one thing going for it that the other medias do not. You have direct connection with the people. You have direct connection with your fans. I can go into my Discord right now and talk to people who enjoy watching my shows, who are fans. No one else in any other industry can do that. You don't get to be in a live stream where they can see your chat directly, where you can talk to them and they can talk back. YouTube has that going for it, and that's the problem that these people see. It's because there's such a personality connection. This is
just the beginning. Now, this is all happening in Germany. And before I go too far, I want to show you this. This is not just something that is happening in Germany and it's going to stay over there. This is being backed by EA, Electronic Arts. If you needed any more evidence that Electronic Arts hates their customer base, well, here it is. This is a EA blog for digital gaming culture. And it talks about the no pixels for fascists and the, what's it called? The good gaming, well-played democracy. It's basic. EA, a major corporation, is supporting this. So in this blog, it says, Broad Alliance, supporters from the game culture always welcome. Remember, all this is translated from German. In a first step, a series of articles and interviews are published that deal with the topic of right-wing radicalism in gaming communities at different levels. I've just talked to you about some of them. One of these articles we just went over, it was an interview with someone who studies these groups with a obvious bias towards certain types of people and certain people who think different ways. Among other things, authors and scientists should have their say, as well as guidelines that can be used to identify right-wing sentiments in online profiles, for example. That's right, they want to find out who you are. They want to blacklist you because you have wrongthink. They want to make sure that you do not get to do what you want to do, which is just play video games. No Pixels for Fascists wants to represent a broad alliance of players. In addition, supporters from all media eras are welcome to participate. Both initiatives want to make it clear that video games are colourful and diverse places where everyone can feel comfortable and nobody is excluded. I think working in and with these communities is particularly important and worthy of support. That last sentence was written by Martin Lorber on April 4th, 2020. In support, this is a blog directly from EA. They're supporting this. About this blog, with the EA blog for digital gaming culture, Electronic Arts offers a platform that presents and critically analyzes and interprets the world of computer and video games. In dialogue with players, society, research, and politics, we try to accompany the cultural ascent of digital games to become the main audio-visual medium, the most important form of expression and storytelling in today's digital culture. Except it already is. The gaming industry is the biggest entertainment industry in the world. Bigger than Hollywood, bigger than the music industry, and much, much bigger than comics. They want to control the narrative. They want to control the gamers. Their analysis is coming from them. This is going to be progressives, liberals, it's going to be the woke. And they're going to analyze you. They're going to tell you you have wrongthink. You are not thinking the things you're supposed to. Gaming is already an inclusive medium. Again, things like Cyberpunk 2077, where you can customize your own genitals. That's not progressive enough. Activists in the trans community are calling it transphobic. The gay characters in Overwatch aren't gay enough. There's not enough representation. This comes down to equal outcome. They don't want equal opportunity. That last paragraph, both initiatives want to make it clear that video games are a colorful and diverse place where everyone can feel comfortable and nobody is excluded. They don't believe that. They don't care about that. They believe that they know what's best for gaming, and they're gonna shove it down your throat whether you like it or not. So yes, I'm gonna take my time with this. This is a part 1. Part 2 will be coming out soon. I have another video I have to do after this. So thank you very much, EA. You've awoken a sleeping beast. I look forward to tearing you apart. And any of you who are still listening to this, I'm gonna link this article and this blog down below. Share this with YouTubers who talked about stuff from Gamergate beforehand. Spread this around. Do not let it take a foothold. It's happening in Germany. EA is an international company. They will want to bring it to where you are. Do not let them do this. Make noise. Make waves. Do not let them get a foothold with this garbage. Or else we're going to be playing video games that were created by Brianna Wu. And if you ever played Revolution 60 like I have, you know for a fact it's going to kill everyone's hobby. But those are my thoughts, folks. I'd love to know yours. Let me know in the comments. If you like what I do here, go ahead, hit like, share this around, and subscribe. And I really mean share this in particular around. And if you do subscribe, go ahead and hit that little notification bell so you know when I upload. And if you want more of me, you can always catch me on Tuesdays on MSNBC with Ishtar and Wren. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to a merchandise store, Patreon. You can even join and become a member of the channel. All of the relevant links are down below. But with that being said, this has been Help for the Guildless. My name, of course, is Antoine, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.